yesterday's attacks and other things.
Some say that he does have ties to Muslim extremists. I don't know.
Since late October 2018, Masoud Soleimani, a renowned Iranian professor and researcher in the field of stem cell research, has been languishing in a U.S. federal jail. Soleimani went to the U.S. on a valid J-1 visa to carry out research at the prestigious Mayo Clinic. But on arrival, he was arrested and accused of failing to acquire the required license for the import of several human growth products.
ایشون قبلا به دعوت به انستیتوی بسیار معتبر مایو کلینیک ایشون رفتن. قبلا هم به دعوت این انستیتو به امریکا سفر کرده بودن و این جزء برنامه‌هاشون بود که در حقیقت از ایشون خواسته شده بود که بیان و یه سری تبادلات علمی انجام بدن. یعنی یه سری تکنیک‌هایی رو ایشون داشتن که ازشون خواسته شده بود این تکنیک‌ها رو بیارن اونجا راه اندازی بکنن و در این حال دنبال این بودن که یه سری دستاوردهای علمی هم که اونجا دارن ایشون بیارن اینجا پیاده بکنن.
Everyone knows the fact that in his field of study, which deals with hematology and in particular stem cells, he would be one of the very few that the country has at the moment.
The continuing detention of an Iranian scientist in the United States has raised difficult questions about politically motivated detentions in America. Above all, under what conditions the U.S. identifies, entraps, detains, exploits, and finally releases people which it has detained for political reasons. Professor Masoud Soleimani is currently jailed in a detention center just south of Atlanta. There is now irrefutable evidence that Professor Soleimani was lured into a trap by the FBI, which exploited the professor's position as a visiting scientist at the prestigious Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. Professor Soleimani was in America's crosshairs for at least 2 years, as demonstrated by the fact that one of his former students, Maryam Jazairi, was detained and questioned at Atlanta Airport on September 6, 2016. That is just over 2 years before Professor Soleimani was detained upon arrival in the U.S. in October 2018. The FBI had been preparing a case against Professor Soleimani for 2 years. The question is why, and specifically to what end? There are broader questions too. Just how widespread is this phenomenon, and what does the U.S. government hope to achieve by entrapping, detaining, and exploiting people like Professor Soleimani? Since the Islamic Revolution of Iran in 1979, the United States government has been imprisoning Iranians on political grounds. Ahmad Sheikhzadeh is another case in point, a 63-year-old Columbia University PhD who occasionally worked at Iran's mission to the United Nations. In March 2016, Sheikhzadeh was approached by the FBI and asked to cooperate, but when he refused, he was charged with tax offenses, money laundering, and conspiracy to violate U.S. sanctions against Iran. Even though the prosecution against Sheikhzadeh did not achieve the desired outcome, as he was eventually sentenced to 3 months in prison for a minor tax fraud, the case highlighted how the U.S. government, and specifically federal law enforcement in the form of the FBI, targets Iranians for political gain.
در ادامه سیاست‌های قبلی امریکا که در واقع یک نوع فشار، اعمال فشار بر اتباع ایرانی در ایالات متحده امریکا و حتی در برخی از کشورهای دیگر بوده، این داستان در امریکا اتفاق افتاده و فرد مورد نظر یک محکومیت چند ماهه دریافت کرده. فکر می‌کنم با توجه به اتهامات اولیه‌ای که در این پرونده مطرح بود و حکمی که صادر شد نشون میده که تبلیغات اولیه و اتهامات سنگین اولیه تا چه حدی نابجا و غلط بوده.
Sheikhzadeh was the victim of an unsuccessful covert operation to the extent that he refused to cooperate with the FBI, but that didn't stop the U.S. government from trying to exploit him politically, with the view to gaining political and strategic leverage against Iran. There are many other cases where Iranians, and in many cases dual Iranian-US citizens, have been targeted by the FBI as part of the US government's informational and political warfare against Iran.
پرونده تقریباً یکی دوتا نیست، چیزی حدود 19-20 تا پرونده در این زمینه ما داریم. برخی‌ها در کشورهای اروپایی و غیر اروپایی هستند که به درخواست غیرقانونی آمریکا احتمال استردادشون به آمریکا هست و بعضی‌ها در ایالات متحده آمریکا هستند.
The US government not only arrests and imprisons Iranians on its own jurisdiction, but in fact it goes out of its way to request the extradition of people which it wants to detain as part of its broader anti-Iranian strategy. The most recent high-profile case involves Iranian national Negar Ghotskani, who was arrested in Australia in June 2017 on the orders of the US Justice Department. Like many Iranian nationals who attract the attention of the US authorities, Ghotskani was accused of sanctions-related violations. In Ghotskani's case, the American pressure was so strong that the Australians had no choice but to cave in to US demands and extradite her to America in July 2019. This is despite the fact that the Australian authorities knew that Ghotskani was in poor health and that at the end of her arrest she was pregnant. Ghotskani gave birth while incarcerated in an Australian prison. Ghotskani was released late September after the US authorities had determined that she was of no further political use. It is worth noting that it is not only Iranians who are regularly targeted by US intelligence and law enforcement agencies. Indeed, the US government regularly targets nationals of states which it has serious issues with. These include nationals of Russia, Cuba, Venezuela, Syria, and Lebanon, amongst others. A recent high-profile case involves Russian national Maria Butina, who was arrested in July 2018 and accused of conspiring against the U.S. government. Observers noted that Butina's detention occurred in a period where U.S.-Russia relations have gone into freefall.
Нашу соотечественницу буквально заставляли расписаться под абсолютно нелепыми обвинениями. Мы квалифицируем и продолжаем квалифицировать задержание, арест, заключение под стражей Марии Бутиной как политическое давление, как акт политического шантажа, а ее как политическую заключенную. Мы убеждены, что уголовное дело против Марии Бутиной связано исключительно со стремлением отдельных политических сил в США подстегнуть антироссийскую истерику, русофобию.
But how are all these political prisoners treated, and under what conditions are they living? In an interview with the Real News Network, Nino Brown of the Jericho Movement and Answer Coalition said American political prisoners are ignored while they try to survive on dirty water.
What the prisoners are being subjected to they're drinking black, or forced to drink and bathe in black and brown water, sometimes gray, that has high levels of manganese, iron, and other harmful chemicals. All the while these prisoners are forced to labor, do work, otherwise they face the whole solitary confinement and other medieval forms of torture, I would say. All the while they train these guard dogs who are drinking clean bottled water. So here we have a clear example of just a gross violation of human rights.
Politically motivated arrests and detentions are not only a feature of U.S. foreign policy. In fact, U.S. agencies, notably the Justice Department, regularly resort to politically motivated arrests to satisfy domestic agendas. One such agenda is the so-called War on Terror, which places great pressure on U.S. agencies to produce results. As part of this strategy, the FBI has developed this sting, where people are essentially entrapped into becoming terrorist suspects. For the most part, these are ordinary, if not vulnerable, members of the public who are intensively targeted by FBI spies and informers and are effectively pushed or directed toward terrorist activity. By one account, more than 300 people have fallen victim to FBI counter-terror sting operations since 9/11. just to satisfy a distinct domestic political agenda. It seems that neither foreigners nor Americans are spared politically motivated persecution at the hands of the U.S. government. No doubt the immediate victims of this approach are justice and freedom, what the U.S. claims to be founded upon.